You ready? Okay, Denny's ready. I'm almost ready. Thanks for your patience, everybody. We just came in from a committee meeting, so we're running a little bit behind. We have almost a full house up on the dais. Vice Mayor Gilb is going to be joining us via Zoom. I think it's Zoom. So anyway, it's time to call this meeting to order. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Mason. Tonight's our March 8th, 2021 business meeting of council. Could we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Chance.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Present.
Councilmember Stricula.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
Here.
Councilmember Hunterlaw.
Here.
Mayor Grossman.
Here. And as is our normal custom, we're going to start things off tonight with Pastor Jeff Heslop. He's come to cover us in prayer, and we'll immediately follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you could stand with us.
I wanted to thank the council personally for your leadership. My wife and I have lived in Mason since '82 when we were first married, and all of our children raised here, and it's a wonderful city. And I thank God for that, but of course I thank the city councils over the many years for that as well. So if you pray with me, let's pray. Father, we do want to thank you for your grace and mercy, your many blessings, for such a good community. And we're encouraged to ask for your blessings, and we would like to do that now. First, we pray for wisdom for this council, for a productive meeting tonight. We pray for their families. We know this is hard work beyond their normal duties. Pray for that you would bless their families. We ask for safety, wisdom for the police, the first responders, firefighters, medical workers, the sheriff's department, the healthcare workers, our doctors and nurses, all of them doing such a great labor during the pandemic. We pray for our families in the city, our marriages, that you would keep them strong, and our children. We pray for our teachers and their labors that are often unseen, many hours late at night, and the great work they do with our children. We ask that you would protect and bless our active military from Mason, our veterans, our church leaders all over the city. And we ask for special wisdom for protection from the COVID virus, Father. Also, pray for that our community would honor those who serve in our government, our civil servants, honor their authority. And I also pray that as a community, we would seek to care and encourage one another during these times. Last, I ask for humility among both leaders and followers, for all will ultimately give an account to you. We pray for humility. And Father, thank you for your Son. Most of all, you sent him that whosoever believes in him would have everlasting life and never perish. We pray all these things in Christ's wonderful name. Amen. Thank you. Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. That was extra special today, and certainly extra needed by me. Thank you. It's great to see you today. At this time, we need to have a motion to approve the minutes from the February 22nd council meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I don't think so. All right. Item 6 on the agenda is City Manager's Report. Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of items here. First, I am anticipating doing some traveling over the coming months. When I am absent, council needs to appoint a city manager for that absence. It'd be appropriate to appoint Jennifer Heft as the acting city manager during times I am absent, and do that via motion.
I'll make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? All right.
Next, I want to remind council as well as the public, you recall last month, we participated in helping to celebrate National Heart Health Literacy Month. That partnership continues this month as we are encouraging folks to participate with the city in the Heart Mini Marathon. Residents are encouraged to join the City of Mason's Heart Mini team. The registration fee to run or walk is $35 or a donation to the American Heart Association. You can go to the city's website at www.imaginemason.org to register and learn more about the event taking place this month. The holidays coming up in April, City of Mason offices will be closed on Friday, April 2nd in observance of Good Friday. The Community Center will be open regular operating hours on Friday, but on Easter Sunday, April 4th, the Community Center will only be open from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. with limited access. Also coming up this year, last year was a little bumpy, but this year, city tax returns are due on Thursday, April 15th. While we do not have in-person tax preparation available this year, there are multiple ways that residents can meet their tax obligation. They can use the city's online tool and file their taxes online, having it calculated through the webpage. They can email their tax documents via a secure email that's provided to them. They can also drop off their tax information in the drop box just outside the building here, or they can also call us, dialing 229-8535 for any assistance needed to get their tax returns filed by April 15th. The Community Center's Spring Shop Local event is scheduled for Wednesday, April 28th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This has proven a very popular event in the past. It features Mason area merchants and motion and do that, request a hearing or not request a hearing and do it via motion.
I'll make that motion not to request a hearing. I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Also, second, have new liquor permits for Valor Oil LLC, a C1 and a C2, which, as I mentioned earlier, is beer only in original sealed containers for carry-out only until 1 a.m., wine and certain prepackaged mixed drinks in sealed containers for carry-out only until 1 a.m. And again, request a hearing via or not via motion.
What's the difference? What's the difference between those two permits?
One is acquiring new permits. The other is a transfer of ownership between the entities.
I'll make a motion not to have a hearing again. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Finally is a D3 liquor permit for Tide Terrace LLC, doing business as Tide Terrace. And a D3 is spirituous liquor for on-premises consumption only until 1 a.m. Again, hearing or not via motion.
I'll make a motion not to have a hearing. Second that.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Item number 8 is ordinance 2021-24. We have a public hearing and a second reading, which is item number 9. So I need a motion to read that by title only, please.
Mayor, I think we have recognition of visitors.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, everyone. I totally missed that. All right. Item 7 on the agenda is recognition of visitors. Do we have anyone in the online queue or in the audience that wishes to speak? None on the online queue. Okay, anyone in the building wishes to speak tonight? If it's about the public hearing, you'll get an opportunity in just a moment. My apologies for skipping item 7. All right, seeing that there are none at this time, let's move on to item 8, which is ordinance 2021-24. We have a public hearing and a second reading. So I need that motion to read by title only now, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Approval of a conditional use permit to allow a kennel on a B3 zoned property located east of 2720 Water Park Drive, Pet Suites.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. The item before you tonight, as Jeff said, is a conditional use. Sorry. And it's located on Water Park Drive. This is across from Skyline and another hotel there on Water Park Drive. And it's located north on this is to the left. So it's actually just east of the true Hilton site. The conditional uses are uses that in each zone are not the primary permitted uses, but they're uses that need to take a look at the location. If it might have some impact, this use might have an impact on some of the surrounding development. And in the B3 zone, a kennel is considered a conditional use. The proposal is for a 11,000 square foot building with 44 parking spots and indoor-outdoor recreation opportunities for animals. And let's see. They are proposing on the site, there's one of the things with a conditional use is there's extra conditions in the zoning code that have to be met. And one of those is that it needs to be in a business zone like this, 100 feet from the principal structure to any surrounding property lines. So they did seek a variance for this from ZBA and were granted a variance. They're meeting the 100 feet on the west property line. They got a variance to reduce that to 40 on the north property line and 10 feet on the east property line. They're also proposing a 7-foot fence, which is also needed a variance, and they also were granted that variance from ZBA. When Planning Commission reviewed this, they recommended approval contingent on the ZBA variances. And let's see. And felt it was suitable in the proposed location and it should not have negative effect or conflict with the surrounding uses. So with that, we believe the applicant has addressed all of the conditional use standards and ordinance 2021-24 is recommended for adoption. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. All right, let's open up the public hearing. The time is 7:18 p.m. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this matter? Do we have anybody in the online queue? Nobody online. I'll give it a minute or two here. Okay, it's 7:19. Let's go ahead and close the public hearing.
Mayor,
Oh, yes, did I miss someone?
just may be appropriate if anyone online is watching, in order to be recognized, they need to press their raise hand button if they do want to participate in the public hearing, which they may not, but bear to remind you.
No virtual hands raised? Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and close the hearing at 7:20. All right. All right, I need a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any council discussion?
Mayor, I just have a couple questions.
Yes.
Are there any businesses on the other sides? I see they meet the 100-foot variance on, did you say that was the east?
Right. Yes. On the east side over here, this, this side is still undeveloped ground.
Okay.
And then there's a plat that's also on the agenda tonight. So this lot is located, if I can zoom in here, right here. And this is undeveloped property here to the east of the lot.
So what happens who owns that land?
So the developer still owns it, which is owned by. Let's see the owner listed here. Oh, Kings Mills Farms, Inc. is still the owner of that property.
Are they okay? I mean, do they have anything to say if they're not okay with that setback rule?
Yeah, they were involved with the request for this conditional use.
Okay,
Yep.
so they're good with it.
Yes.
I like the fence, actually. Is this, it's a brick fence, what's in our packet here. Is that going to be all the way around the perimeter, or is that just
That
the
will be
front?
around this outdoor exercise area. And,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this fence is this outdoor exercise area here. And then they do have some shrubs and trees proposed on the east and north property line as well.
It's quite well done. I think it's going to be a great addition to that area over there. What a perfect spot to put that kind of a kennel.
Dogs there.
Anyone else? All right, let's call the roll.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Next on the agenda are items 10 and 11. We have ordinance 2021-25. We have a public hearing and a second reading. I need a motion to read that by title only, please.
So moved?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Amending the zoning code and zoning map of the city of Mason, Ohio to provide for the rezoning of approximately 0.4 acres from B2 Shopping Center District to B3 Road Service Commercial located at 5614 Tylersville Road, UDF.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Sorry, this is jumping around on me. This property is located, it's really hard to see on the zoning map, but Tylersville Road is here, kind of bends around, and then this is US 42, and then the area in the middle that doesn't really have a zoning is the railroad. The existing UDF site is located right in here with the canopy here, and this small area is currently zoned B2, and you can see the surrounding areas are all B3. So the request tonight is basically just to clean up this property zoning and clarify that the entire zone is B3. B2 zone is actually our shopping district zone, which would take a lot more than this 1.8 acre parcel to develop a shopping center. Let's see, so removal of the dual zoning would assist in redevelopment and ensure consistent development standards to the entire property. This was reviewed at Planning Commission and recommended for approval. And with that, ordinance 2021-25 is recommended for adoption. And I'll answer any questions you have.
All right, let's open up the public hearing. The time is now 7:24. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against this matter from the public? So if you're online, you need to raise your hand. Okay, and I don't see any hands in our building raised. Anyone here? Okay. Let's wait till 7:25 in case somebody changes his or her mind. I know. Is anybody else thinking of the Jeopardy theme right now? I have been doing that tonight. All right, it's 7:25, so let's go ahead and close the public hearing. I need a motion to adopt, please.
Second?
Any council discussion? Seeing there is none, let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Item 12 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-40. We need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Approval of the replat of the beach subdivision, Phase 3.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the replat for the previously mentioned Pet Suites site, which will become Lot 4E. This entire area that's in red is existing Lot 4D and will be broken up into E and F. One thing I failed to mention is that there was a requirement during when this project went to ZBA to have an easement out and around here. That's the area shown in green. And that's to allow parking and landscaping within that area, but to keep principal structures from that so that there's at least 100 feet from the kennel area with the principal structure. So that easement is shown here as required by ZBA, in addition to some drainage easements needed for the detention basin and storm sewers on the site. So with that, the replat in ordinance 2021-40 is recommended for adoption.
Thank you. We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Is there a motion to adopt?
Second.
Any council discussion on this one? Okay, let's call the roll, please.
Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Item 13 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-41. I need a motion to read that by title only, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Accepting the public improvements for the reserves of Carmel, Phases 4A, 4B, and 4C, and releasing the performance bonds.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Reserves of Carmel is located off of State Route 741, which is off to the left on this photo. Stone Ridge Drive goes through the site and ends at Mason Mara Millgrove here. Water reclamation plant located here, and the sections being accepted tonight are Reserves of Carmel A, B, or 4A, 4B, and 4C, which are these two streets, Broadstone Drive and part of Highland Green Drive. With that, it just leaves 4D to be accepted. That's the last remaining section of Reserves of Carmel upon acceptance tonight. The utilities and other improvements will become our responsibility upon acceptance, and we recommend accepting the public improvements contingent on the standard one-year maintenance bond and also a performance bond for incomplete items such as a sidewalk and street trees on lots that haven't been developed yet. So with that, ordinance 2021-41 is recommended for adoption.
We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Any council discussion? All right, let's call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Item 14 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-42. We need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Stauffer Site Solutions LLC in an amount not to exceed $102,462 for the construction of 2 force mains and related manholes.
Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, there are an 8-inch and a 16-inch force main that both terminate at the Safety Service Center, which is formerly the old water reclamation plant. Most of the piping is PVC piping. However, there's about 140 feet that is existing ductile iron piping. It is corroding. It has rust formations on the pipe that are reducing the capacity of that pipe from an 8-inch pipe down to 5.5. Staff had tried to go in and clean it, but the deterioration is so significant, the pipes can no longer be restored to their design parameter. Staff is recommending that we replace the ductile iron piping with PVC pipe, along with replacing an existing manhole and adding 2 additional manholes. We received 3 quotes for this work. Stauffer Site Solutions LLC had the lowest bid at $102,000. The 2021 budget included $110,000 for this project. With that, ordinance 2021-42 is recommended for adoption.
Thank you. We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion on this one? All right, let's call the roll.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
Yes.
Item 15 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-43. We need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Richards Electric in an amount not to exceed $97,000 for the purchase of a portable generator and connection accessories.
Jennifer?
Mayor, members of council, the city has a number of smaller generators that we use for tools and as additional power sources, but we don't have a significant generator that could be used as backup resource in case of emergencies for like lift stations, even segments of the water reclamation plant, which is a critical component to our operations at the city. Last year, and this municipal center does have a backup generator as well. Last year, that required some repairs and maintenance. At the time, we recognized that we have 2 business partners located in this facility, and for the continuity of their operations, we could not leave them without a backup generator. So we had to rent one, and that cost us roughly $2,500 for less than a day. So staff researched and actually received quotes for a generator for 3 different vendors. Richards Electric had the low bid. The price that you see before you tonight is for $97,000. That includes $92,000 for the generator itself and about $5,000 for accessory items to that. This generator will also be used for special events like Red Rhythm and Boom events when we have vendors and other hookup needed for those events. The 2021 budget included $146,000 for this purchase. With that, ordinance 2021-43 is recommended for adoption.
Thank you, Jennifer. We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to suspend we already did that. I'm sorry. We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Any council discussion on this one? This is germane to the ordinance somewhat, but somewhat off topic. But while I'm thinking about it, I want to make sure I mention it, and maybe we can circle back around to it during committee reports. But Jennifer Heft experienced Texas firsthand a few weeks ago, and she could have used that generator. But I'm wondering if this might be an opportunity to suggest a Public Works or Safety Committee meeting to just kind of go over, what our energy contingencies are for core services like water, and just something to think about. So I'm just throwing that out there. It's not germane to the motion, so I apologize for that, but I wanted to make sure I remembered to ask. Oh, all right. Any other council discussion? All right, let's call the roll on that. Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw.
Yes.
Item 16 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-44. I need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing to call and pay outstanding 2011 various purpose bonds dated June 1, 2011.
Eric?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Council may recall in 2011, almost $7 million in bonds were issued for a number of projects that included the improvements to Mason Road at the time, US 42 improvements, as well as some dollars for stormwater projects. There's now an opportunity that debt has consistently been paid down over the ensuing years. There's an opportunity now to completely pay off that debt. There's an amount of 2.25 million that is outstanding, and recommendation is that those bonds be called and paid off as of June 1st. That action will result in a savings of $335,000 of interest expense for the city, lower the amount of debt, continue our practice of debt management by issuing debt at the right time and then looking for opportunities to pay it off. Those dollars were included as part of the 2021 budget, and with action on ordinance 2021-44, we can move forward with the payoff.
Thank you. We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion on this one? I will say that I like this policy. I like the direction we're moving in, paying off debt. It's great. Our city leaders have been wise in setting policy to keep our debt as low as we can, but to also maintain our cash position. So we're happy about that. All right, anyone else? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman.
Yes. Item 17 on the agenda, ordinance 2021-45. We need a motion to read that by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Horton Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of one Horton ambulance and declaring an emergency.
Eric?
Council is aware purchasing an ambulance is not as easy as going to the lot and picking one up and bringing it home. There was an ambulance included in the budget. Typically, ambulances are replaced every 10 to 12 years based on their usage. And one was included in the budget for work this year. We have gone through several processes, getting input, evaluating different specs, both between the fire department and the service department, to review and recommend options available to move forward with this purchase. Recommendations were based on continued standardization, which is a virtue when managing the fleet, as well as some options that have become available to include better patient privacy, improved storage, additional space for some of the equipment that we have started to staff on the medics, including things like you'll recall the Lucas CPR device, the power stair chairs, as well as the typical rescue task force equipment. Going through that process, staff reviewed state bid proposals and found what was the best fit for the city with a Horton emergency vehicle. The price that is available to the city is at just shy of $290,000. That is available. That is actually last year's pricing, which if this ambulance is ordered in the month of March, we can still access that pricing. That's a savings of about $10,000 by doing it early. There's also an option that we're exploring that may have an additional $7,000 to $8,000 in savings by some prepayment options that our finance director is looking at. Again, those are timely opportunities to save money on this purchase. Typically, when a new vehicle is placed into service, the current frontline paramedic or ambulance goes into a reserve status, and then the older reserve status is cycled out of the fleet. What we're recommending this time is holding off on that with the Medic 53 pilot program, having that third medic running at peak times. We think it is prudent to keep the 2012 ambulance in reserve instead of cycling it out of the fleet, so that we have more access to vehicles should that third medic go down. It will need to be replaced timely, but maybe by slowing that down, we'll get some additional use out of it as a reserve vehicle without incurring the maintenance expense, while we're able to continue evaluating the third medic. And as that evaluation continues, come up with what the final fleet staffing would be with 3 medics. Also important to remember, we order this in March ideally, but it's not delivered until 2022, hopefully early in 2022. That's part of the complication with purchasing ambulances is you do the spec, you do the state bid, then they start building it, and you typically have a 9 to 11 month delay. Again, argument for prudent and timely purchase of this. The 2021 budget did include $350,000 for the ambulance purchase. This would come in at just shy of $290,000. There will also be a power cot to place on this ambulance, anticipating that to be a price of approximately $45,000, and would be a separate vendor and separate legislation in the future. Ordinance 2021-45 is recommended for adoption.
Thank you. We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
So moved?
All
Second?
right. Thank you. Any council discussion? Councilmember Bradburn, what do you think? Is this a good idea?
Anytime you can save money,
Yep.
as well as provide a very necessary piece of equipment for the fire department, especially since we're staffing a third medic unit during peak hours. And I know we're going to probably get into some discussions in the safety committee in the very near future of how we continue to man that.
Councilmember Bradburn has a lot of expertise in this area, and you were a former EMT, correct? Paramedic. Okay.
Everybody needs a good pee once in a while.
Short for paramedic, right? And I'm glad to see that you're planning on buying the cot. I think that's important, not just for the comfort and safety of our patients that we serve, but also for the comfort and safety of our professionals, because they are doing a lot of heavy lifting literally for years and years, and we want to preserve their bodies to the best of our ability, right? Okay, any other council discussion? Yes, Councilmember Hunter-Law.
So the one that we're setting to be a Plan B is a 2012 model, you said? What?
Yes.
Yes, and then what's the mileage on that one? Do you know what that is? I was just curious on if we go by years or mileage or both as we look to replace. I know they got a bunch, but I just was curious if you knew what that was.
Like I said, the typical cycle is 10 to 12 years based on mileage. Mileage sometimes can be different because the vehicles are running when they're not necessarily moving down the roadway, incurring mileage. But if we can get 12 years out of vehicle, that's good, as well as with the trying to marry that. This is on the when the maintenance costs increase, and it's timely to get a new vehicle to avoid the investing in a depreciating asset.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and call the roll, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunter-Law,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Item 18 is ordinance 2021-46. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into an automatic mutual aid agreement with Liberty Township for fire department response.
Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. For 20 years, the city fire department has been part of automatic mutual aid that has evolved and been refined within Warren County. And what that does, it allows us to provide both additional assets to an incident and perhaps usually more significantly to provide the closest fire and EMS units to an incident that respond immediately. And that's especially important. I think what folks often forget about is they feel like wherever they live or whether they're at in conjunction with the fire stations where the response is coming from. Often they're out on calls and they're in transit. They may not always be at the fire station when they're responding to the call that comes in. So that kind of complicates the geography and the jurisdictional geography of providing mutual aid. In recent years, automatic mutual aid has been expanded into Hamilton County because Mason is one of the organizations as part of the Northeast Fire Collaborative, which includes areas such as Sims Township and Blue Ash. One of the main factors that drives departments in the area to move towards mutual aid agreements is trying to meet NFPA standards for response times. And that impacts the ISO ratings, which are a factor in insurance rates for both businesses and residents. Over the past several years, fire chiefs from Westchester, Liberty Township, Deerfield, and Mason have been meeting to both improve relationships as well as increase efforts to work together, given how those communities along Butler Warren have and the development in that area, including hospitals. We had some success with those jurisdictions providing for installation of what's called traffic preemption equipment along Butler Warren. That's the equipment that allows emergency vehicles to move through the lights more readily instead of waiting on the signal or trying to move around equipment. It activates the lights in conjunction with the emergency vehicles that would be moving through. With that success and improving the response times using that for emergency transports in that corridor, Butler County, specifically Liberty, and while Butler County hasn't always used automatic mutual aid, that trend is changing. Liberty Township has moved their fire station. What is called Station 112 is being relocated to an area along Princeton Road. That should be opening this month. There's also advances both now and anticipated in what's called computer-aided dispatch systems, both in Butler County and Warren County. That ability to relay information automatically between the two has ramifications for mutual aid as well. Finally, and the point of this ordinance is that fire department staff have worked with Liberty Township to come up with an automatic mutual aid agreement between those two agencies. Each agency will allow one fire apparatus to respond to the other jurisdiction on the initial dispatch for automatic mutual aid calls. This is all hinged on the priority for each department, which is providing emergency services to their own residents, and that is accounted for in the mutual aid agreement. It's anticipated that, and as you look at the growth, that Deerfield, Liberty, as well as Mason will be working together more often in the northern portion of the city. That includes the eastern portion of Liberty, the northwest quadrant of Deerfield, as with the relocation of Liberty Station and the addition of what is Deerfield Station 59 on Butler Warren Road. With the adoption of this formal mutual aid agreement, it sets the stage for improved response times for all those residents and increased collaboration as development continues in that area. It is recommended for adoption.
Thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved. Second.
And I have to ask, all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Seeing there is none, let's call the roll.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Item 19 is ordinance 2021-47. We need a motion to read by title only.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Federal Signal in the amount of $54,742 for the replacement of 2 outdoor warning sirens.
Jennifer?
Mayor, members of council, the city has 10 outdoor warning sirens. Most people refer to those as tornado sirens. 6 of those were installed in 1994, 3 in 1997, and 1 in 2017. We've been experiencing issues with 2 of the ones that were purchased in 1994, the one located at the entrance of Meadows Park on Lindeman Lane, as well as along Reading Road near the Triway Drive intersection. Again, both of those have been experiencing some repair and maintenance issues. We brought in an audit firm to evaluate all of our sirens last year, and they indicated these two were in the worst conditions. I would like to remind all residents that these outdoor warning signals, the intended purpose of them is not to be able to hear them from inside your home, but rather for the public that are outside in our parks, at fields where they may not have the electronic devices that they would inside their home. So again, they're intended for the outside purposes only. The 2021 budget does include $60,000 for the replacement of 2 of the outdoor warning sirens. I will indicate to you that our recommendation moving forward as part of our budget process will be to include additional sirens in each annual budget moving forward, because as I indicated, there's 4 of them that were purchased in 1994, 3 in 1997, so they're nearing their useful life as well. Federal Signal is the sole source vendor in this region for these sirens. With that, ordinance 2021-47 is being recommended for adoption. Thank you.
Right, we need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
And a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Any council discussion?
Mayor.
I think I forgot an all in favor. Go ahead.
So I have a couple questions. When I first started council 5 years ago, I think, I was on the safety committee. And one thing I've always had a concern about is if there's a tornado in the middle of the night and you're sleeping, you really can't hear these sirens. I know you should have a weather radio. But I did ask about what would it be, or what would it take, or how effective would it be if we had some kind of a system out there where an emergency system that would ring your phone. So if you signed up for it, you can get a phone call. And I believe at the time we looked into it as a safety committee and said the only problem with that is it takes so long to call that many individuals that by then it's pretty late. If there's a tornado, you don't have a lot of time. So I don't know if we have looked since. I'm no longer on the safety committee. I don't know if we've looked at anything since that could be more beneficial to help some of our residents in the event that does happen in the middle of the night. Also, we have 10. But would it benefit us to have more than 10? Because I know from my house, I can't hear it very well, even in the day. With the windows closed, it's like, are the sirens ringing? It's a little hard. So if I'm sleeping, if that weather radio doesn't go off or something happens, I'm not going to hear it. I'm just wondering if maybe the safety committee could take another look at it to see if anything, in the last 5 years has come out. To big cities to see, if there's anything else that could be effective. And also if you could just look into seeing if maybe it would be beneficial to have some more sirens other than the 10 that we have. Just a thought for the safety committee, just to look at it. It would.
Mayor, we'll take that under advisement and see what we got. I would imagine the placement of the sirens is probably to some degree contingent on the county, okay, since they're the ones that activate it. Obviously, Mason has grown through annexations and that, and maybe a time to go ahead and look and see if we need to have some other ones. I'll have to refer to the city manager. Do you know of anything recent in regards to that?
We added a siren on North 42 here some years ago to account for development there, specifically Ambleside area. And we can look at it, and there's ways to project that. Adding sirens and overlapping coverage also can have the reverse effect where you get complaints because the sirens are too loud, or they rotate on a basis. But that it's certainly something we can look at and find where there's areas. There is coverage throughout the jurisdiction between that configuration of the 10 sirens.
Take a look at it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other discussion on the motion on the table?
Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm totally off on this. So I'd love to have Googled this before I asked this question. Sorry, I'm not loud enough. So I'm thinking maybe the local weather channels on their apps give you notification on alerts. I thought I'd been alerted on my phone through something else locally. I don't know if it's the national weather or I have weather bug on my phone. I'm thinking there's something that alerts me already on my phone for local issues like that. I'm not sure how effective it is and how accurate or fast it is, but I was thinking we already have something that can activate our phones in the middle of the night. Do you know if that's true or not?
I'm not the expert by any means. I know there are certain phones, probably certain apps that if you activate like you can get Amber Alerts, severe weather alerts, those type of things. That depends on the type of phone, the type of app. What I don't know, and we could investigate if they're, those operate from other services. I don't know that if there's a way to tie that into when the city's tornado sirens are activated. You know what I mean? That again bears some investigation. There may be opportunities there, but I'm not aware of them.
I would think that's warning signal comes from whoever it is in Wilmington that gets sent to everywhere else, that gets sent to Mason. The same signal. Whoever they're getting the information from gets spread to everybody. You would think.
Through your phone, I think it's more regional. The tornado sirens, through the different counties.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's why sometimes, I think this happened a couple months ago, or actually just a month ago, the tornado sirens in Hamilton County were activated accidentally.
Right.
Some people in Mason heard those sirens, even though Warren counties were not activated. And that does occur sometimes during severe weather. There may have been a tornado touchdown, down by Kentucky. So all of Hamilton County is activated, but there's no need to activate here. That's part of the whole geography of all of it.
And 'tis the season. Some of us lived through the April 3rd, 1974 tornado that came through Mason. Thank you.
Any other comments on or questions on the motion to adopt? Let's call the roll, please.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
All right. Item 20 is discussion of council rules. And so we left this at our last meeting up to discussion for tonight. So we don't have any action necessarily planned tonight, but Jeff can guide us through that if we want to take any action tonight. But does anybody have any feedback or preferences based on the memo we were given? We have that in our email. I don't know if we have a hard copy of that to put on the screen. Oh, would you mind? Oh, thanks. Would it be helpful to put one up on the screen so the public can see also? And thank you, Kurt.
I already have one in my packet. I don't.
Thanks.
Feel
That'll be
more free.
helpful for me. Thanks. You may recall the Policy and Legislation Committee met and we had a couple of minor edits that we made up in the beginning of the document. Trying to remember if there were any others. Do you remember, Jeff? Okay, he doesn't remember any either. Okay, so I know council has seen these, but we've been working with the idea of putting up some guardrails during recognition of visitors so that we can enable public participation for everyone that wishes to speak, but within a time limit. And then just to remind the public that, disruptions that make it impossible to do our work will have to be addressed. So, any comments from council members?
Mayor, I just,
Yes.
two things. I'm just looking at this and wondering, there's certain, nights on council that we've had in a plethora of people here filling not only this room, but the extended room over there. On nights that there are a lot of people, I would like to give priority to our residents to speak first. I don't know if there's something we can put in here. I guess it's hard to kind of put on parameters of, if there's more than X amount of people coming to speak, then, we will give first priority to our residents if there is time available for the other individuals coming forward. I just think it's more fair. There's been times in the past where, they've talked for an hour or maybe even 2 hours, and the individuals that are residents here that have been waiting forever, don't get to speak. And I think some of them have even left in the past. I just think it is just more respectful to our residents to give them the first to approach us and talk to us.
Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, if you go to a school board meeting, there's actually a sign up. It's where you have to write your name and address. So that might be able to help with being able to distinguish or determine who is a Mason resident or not. So I think that's a good idea, because if it is, there's a lot of people here, we certainly would like to give preference to the Mason residents first. And so I think that might be something that we could do as a sign up genie or something prior to the meetings.
Anyone else?
I have just one more comment, sorry. I would like to increase, I think 3 minutes is kind of short. Some individuals have a lot of things that they have to say. I want to give them the respect to communicate with us. Maybe on nights where we're just packed, it would be better to have a 3 minute, but in general, when someone comes here and there's only maybe 5 people, I would like to give them a little bit more time, maybe 5 minutes. Like I said, 3 just doesn't seem like a lot of time to and I don't want them, rushing so fast to get everything out that they're not, that they're forgetting information that they want to tell us, or if we have questions, we can't go back and forth. I would just prefer something a little bit longer.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If I may, Mayor, so you're suggesting that where it says 3 minutes, like 3 hyphen to 5 minutes?
Okay.
Put that in there. Is that agreeable to 3 to 5 minutes?
Do we need
And
to
I
be
mean-
more precise?
So I would suggest, if you're going to end up implementing a rule like this, that it either be set an actual number. If you say 3 to 5, then every meeting you're going to have to make a determination of whether it's going to be 3 or 4 or 5. So one thing I guess I'd like to point out, just for council as you're considering this, keep in mind, as with any other rule in your council rules, on any given night, council has the ability to suspend or modify any rule. So if, I'm just going to give you an example. If you said, let's make number 3 say 5 minutes, that would be the general rule, 5 minutes. If we came on a particular night and there were 400 people lined up out the door and you thought maybe 3 minutes is better tonight, you could always make a motion to modify the rule and change the 5 minutes to 3 minutes. But if you create a rule that says 3 to 5 minutes, then on any given night, we won't know how to set the timer, so to speak. So I would suggest that whatever you want the rule to be, make that the general rule, and then keep in mind you always have the ability to suspend that rule or modify it on any night.
You can also modify that on an individual basis or case by case basis. If you have somebody come up with a particular problem that just really needs some time to work through it, the chair can always ask council if they're okay with extending the time. So, sometimes people do have complicated issues that need more time and more interaction with council. Member Honorlo?
Mayor, so I agree that I like the idea of making sure Mason residents have the opportunity to speak first. I don't know if I'm in favor of, I think this should be more loose. That way, each mayor or each council meeting, we have the flexibility to change per speaker or per topic or how filled the room is. I know that we filled the other room in the past because of COVID. Everybody was 6 feet apart, but I mean, I think we've had more people than that in here recently. But I think everybody's already giving their address when they speak. I think maybe if the mayor or whoever's in charge of the meeting just says, we add it saying, hey, would Mason residents speak first? I would think that solves that issue, but you got the flexibility to do that. Either way, I just think sometimes keeping it a little looser gives you more flexibility. And then, I kind of brought this forward because I had concerns with the amount of people that were being disruptive in there, and it was more of a reminder to people. And if you look at what even another local township here does, they are much more strict of talking about in this language. I think they even talk about, they could be, I hate to say what they said, but it was something way more strict of being enforced if you act out. And so this is this is written very conservative, and I think everybody has the idea, knowing that for us to all get along and let every voice be heard, that's what this is about. Let everybody get a chance to speak, and then you go back through, can ask a second question or follow up your own question the second time around is what we're trying to do. We're looking for something fair and something so that all ideas get spoken about. Thank you.
Member Stricula, do you have anything to add?
Just a couple of thoughts if we're going to write it down. I would agree that 3 minutes is not enough time. I think 5 minutes is more than fair. We just heard that we can adjust that as needed. But if we're going to write it down, I'd say 5 minutes. And then also in item 1 and 2, it mentions the mayor. I would change that to say the chair of the meeting. So the mayor will not always necessarily be the chair of the meeting. Those are just 2 thoughts.
Anyone else? Vice Mayor Gilb, do you have anything to add?
Maybe just a question for Jeff about, we're thinking about non-residents, recognition of visitors. What is our duty in terms of giving access to people that aren't residents of Mason to come and address us as a council? Is there anything that we have to think about in that regard?
Yes. Once you open this is, sorry, it's weird. I'm answering to the voice and yes, and that's a good point. Once this is open as a public forum, then yes, you would, anyone who comes would be able to address council. I think what I'm hearing is it's not that non-residents would not be permitted to address council. It's just that residents might get the priority. So I think we're just talking about the order that people might get to come up to the podium to address. But I would agree with you that that is a good point. Once it's opened up as a forum, anyone who comes in will be permitted to address council, whether you're a resident or a non-resident.
Mayor, if I could just, add, I think the reasoning why that is there's a lot of non-residents that are business owners here, or even people that are looking to move here that would like to be able to, address council. So I mean, a resident is important, but it's not the most important.
Yeah, we also have to remember that Mason and Deerfield are intertwined geographically. So even though someone might be have a Deerfield Township address, it may be right in the middle of a Mason neighborhood or have a concern. So our 2 communities are very close. And with the school board, they make sure that they'd like to make sure that they limit dialogue to residents of the district only. So we've had that issue where we've had a large audience before, and we've mentioned that we'd like to have residents speak first, and we kind of let the audience just self-sort. But my problem with having people sign up in advance is that if you decide at some point during the meeting that you'd really like to speak, then if we do it the way the school does, then you can't spontaneously share something because you didn't sign in at the beginning of the meeting.
I'm not saying, I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm not saying that's like mandatory, but I'm saying in the event that, and people can still, if they have the patience and they want to wait till the end, they can certainly, and I hear what you're saying, Councilmember Hunter, well, everybody's welcome to speak. And I'm just saying if we wanted to figure out a way, it was just a suggestion, if we wanted to figure out a way to make sure we knew in advance where the residents were coming from, prioritizing them by Mason residents just to me makes a lot of sense. And I understand that Mason and Deerfield at the school district are intertwined, but they do that so just those they speak as well. You know what I mean? So we can do it anyway. I'm not saying that, I don't even think that this is necessary to do this, but if we're going to do it, we might as well. That was just a suggestion because someone said it. So, but to me, I don't know how necessary this is, but that was just a suggestion.
Councilmember
I
Bradburn?
really don't care.
Mayor, I concur that the chair should be substituted for mayor, and I don't have a problem with the 5 minutes, and I'm ready to rock and roll with it.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I want to make sure I made a list. Did we tackle your suggestions, Member Honorla?
Yes.
Okay, and then as the chair, I will remind the audience that, we prefer residents to speak first if at all possible, or, yeah. So it looks like we're going to make an amendment to item 1, substituting chair for mayor, and then on an amendment to item 3, making that 5 minutes. Did I miss anything? Oh, item 2 also says mayor. Okay, we'll change that to chair. Sometimes the vice mayor leads, and if the vice mayor isn't there, then the charter calls for the body to appoint a chair, a substitute chair. Okay, I'm going to make sure I got everybody's suggestions. All right, so action steps. Jeff.
So as we've discussed before, council has some options about how you may want to move forward with this. Sort of in order of permanence, I guess I would say. What you could do, one option is that every meeting you walk in and at the beginning of the meeting, somebody makes a motion to adopt the public participation rules. And they would be in effect that night and that night only. And if you don't make a motion to adopt them on any particular night, then the rules are not there. So that's one option. Option 2 is that you could make a motion that would, in essence, enact these public participation rules, and that they would stay in effect until council took some action to make them not in effect. So that you wouldn't have to act every meeting. You would do it once and they would be in place until you took further action. The third option, the one that's of more, I say permanence, but it's not really permanent either. One is that then you could codify these and have them adopted into your council rules in the code book. Chapter 121 of the codified ordinances is the council rules, and it has other rules for the way meetings operate. You could add a new section to chapter 121 for public participation guidelines. So one-time motion every night. One motion that leaves them in place until you say otherwise, or codify them. And again, once it's in your codified ordinances, that it's there until, again, any future council can adopt legislation to repeal them, modify them, change them in any way. And again, and I would point again, I'll just say, on any given night, no matter how you adopt these, council always has the ability by motion to suspend or modify these rules as the circumstances might call for.
Mayor, with that said, I'd like to make a motion that we take the third option to codify these with the changes that we mentioned here, with changing mayor to chair and changing 3 minutes to 5. I'm not sure if the other motions were put in place or not.
So is there a second to that motion? And then we'll discuss. So he made a motion to codify, which would be choice 3, door number 3, with the amendments that we previously discussed, substituting the word chair for mayor and changing the time to 5 minutes.
I'll second that. And the reason I'll second that is because it allows a permanent place until changed for the public to go ahead and take a look at the rules of council. So there'll be a web place that they can go to and, okay, this is what's kind of, the ground rules, rather than something that's, it's here, or we're going to do it at this meeting. We're going to do it until we decide to change it. It's here, period. Upcoming councils can go ahead and change it if they want, but I don't have any problem with what's here.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and now we have some time for council discussion. Member Chance?
Yeah, doesn't the second one do that without us continuously just expanding our codified ordinances? I view motion and, until we have to take further action on it, doing the exact same thing without having to put it in our, I just, like I said, I think a lot of this stuff is unspoken, and it's just us, trying to be, expanding our might up here as government, but I just don't get it. But if we want to, I don't have a problem with it, but I just don't know why we have to codify it opposed to just making it a motion this one time. And in the event that it's something has to take place, we have to change it, then this council or further councils can do it. But once you codify it, I mean, what is the action, Jeff, to undo it or?
And it would, any future council could introduce a new ordinance to amend it, modify it, change it, repeal it in its entirety. It's not really much different than a motion. It would just be in a written form. And like any other ordinance, technically it takes 2 readings unless they're suspended. So it's a little bit of a more kind of formality to it as an ordinance, but it still doesn't prevent any future council from changing it in any way. The same vote too, I guess I should say, whether it's a motion that would get modified in the future or an ordinance, it's still a simple majority of council would be able to move that forward.
Member Honorlaw. Actually, you know what? Since you made the motion, let me go to Member Nelson next. Sorry about that.
So Councilmember Bradburn, you really made a very good point here, and I'm curious all of a sudden about it. Because I find myself often pulling up the charter and reading the rules of the charter. It's not a charter amendment.
Correct. Right. This would not be in the charter. In your code, chapter 121 of the code is already the section that addresses council meetings, and it has lots of rules about it. That's the section where it says we follow Robert's rules. That's the section that outlines some things about executive session, confidentiality. That's just chapter 121 is the chapter that governs how we run council meetings.
So if it's just a motion, if a resident pulls it up and is reading it, they wouldn't see this on there. They would.
That's correct. That's correct. The benefit of the codifying option is that it'll get printed online and in the book.
Right. I guess, that makes me kind of wonder though, what other motions are out there that aren't in writing that, to me, that could be somewhat problemsome because as a resident, you want to get as much information as you can, and you're reading through everything you can to get that information. And there's things kind of floating out there that aren't recorded, which I think makes it difficult for people to understand some of the rules. And you said that there's only 4 votes needed, not 5, to change an ordinance?
To amend ordinances, it just takes 4. Where the only time it would take 5, there are certain things procedural things that council does where it takes 5 votes to read it by title only. It takes 5 votes to allow for adoption after 1 reading, just to suspend certain rules. But the actual adoption of the ordinance is just 4, simple majority.
If I can just recommend then, I think we should either do 1 or 3. Because if you do number 2, then it's floating out there and people, if we're going to have a set rule that's there all the time, I think it's important that it's documented where people can read it. If we don't want that, then option number 1, where we do the motion every meeting, I think would be preferred. I don't like things floating out there. It's almost like they're hidden and people can't find them.
Anyone else want to speak on the matter before Member Honorlaw speaks? Member Stricula, thank you.
Mayor, if I may. Yeah, I like the idea of having some consistency across the board for our meetings and setting expectations. I think it's better for the residents. I think it's better for them to understand what they're walking into and what the expectations are for them. And I'm not entirely opposed to having it written down either. I think that's a good idea.
Vice Mayor Gilb, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just one question for Jeff in terms of option 2, just adopting this as a motion versus codifying as an ordinance. The effect of that I see is in terms of future councils. If it's codified in an ordinance, that's going to be in effect for a future council is going to have to follow these same rules as opposed to adopting whatever rules they want to adopt in that future council. If we adopted in option 2 just a motion that these be the rules for this council, Is the effect of that, am I understanding correctly? The effect of that would be that that rule would end at the end of this council's 2-year term?
Not necessarily. I think that would depend entirely on what the motion says. If you took option 2, I would you'd have to see what the motion is. If the motion is, I move to adopt these rules until council says not to, until council takes further action, then it would survive beyond this council. Or if you said, I make a motion to adopt these rules until December 1, they would have a sunset date. But short of that, it would remain in place for future councils, just like the codified version would.
Mayor.
I'll just raise a concern that I certainly think we as a council should adopt rules for our discussions, but I'm not sure we should be setting parameters for future councils in terms of what they may want to do in that regard. But I'll leave it at that.
Member Honderlo?
Mayor,
Oh,
just
I'm sorry.
one comment that may be helpful. And, often you make motions that aren't, well, they are written down as they're expressed in the minutes. And those are usually kind of procedural things that have a limited life. This is written down. I mean, you have a handout here. We can amend it. If you were to adopt it, and if you're to adopt it via ordinance or motion, I think what staff would do is we would take a document like this and put it on the webpage adjacent to meetings, to make it accessible to residents if these are the rules. I think my point is it is written down. If you adopt this sheet of paper, those are the rules, and we can post them at the meetings. We can put them on the webpage. They have meaning until you take them away. I'm sorry. Either me or this mic, I don't know. The rules are written down. If you, via motion or ordinance, adopt this sheet, we will make it accessible to people that attend the meeting or other formats.
Yeah, you stole my thunder.
Thank you.
So I
Go
mean,
ahead.
that was the whole point. I think we're addressing this was because we went back and looked what we were basically already doing. And I was trying to hand that out and put those on chairs. And we had a crowd that they were hostile. And some of them were breaking some of these rules. And we wanted to make sure people knew there are rules here to behave and to make it fair for everybody. And I thought if having it at their seat would help people keep their minds. I know when I raised my sons, I wrote the rules down so there was never a question how they had to act, and that way I could go back and point to it when they misbehaved. This is something that when you walk into a room, and if you not used to going to city council meetings or any type of meeting, and you got your behavior saying this is how you have to behave, what you have to do, how you get to speak, I think that makes it easier for everybody. And I'd like to say, we don't have anything in here that's outside of what we were already doing, except for item 5, which, addresses the, whether they, residents wanted to bring, a thumb drive or CDs or anything else that we were afraid might contaminate our equipment. That's the only thing new. We already had everything here. So I don't see anything here as a surprise. I just think it makes it easier for people that are in attendance. And I do suggest we do hand that out. Just staple it to the agenda when everybody walks in, or put it on every chair. So that way people know, and then that helps everybody know what's expected of them.
Thank you. Yes.
Is that all you got to do is write a list down and the kids just behave? I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that. That's good. No, but to your point though, chapter 121, is that where you said this already lives? And the only difference is point number 5?
No. Chapter 121 is where your council rules are, but the items on this page are not actually in chapter 121 yet. They could be if this motion passes, which would then essentially direct me to bring an ordinance at the next meeting so that you could codify it. Then it would be in chapter 121. I just meant chapter 121 would be the appropriate place for this to go.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so the motion on the floor is whether or not the motion on the floor is to codify option 3 with the amendments chair, and 5. Everything else is the same. So we need to take a roll call on that. And, the comment I have about codifying it is that, the word automatic comes to mind. We just want it to be automatic so that we don't have to keep going over it and have that awkward moment at the beginning of recognition of visitors or from meeting to meeting. And so to have that automatically, and I really appreciate Member Bradburn's point about having a place to go in the codified ordinances and on the website, which we can, it sounds like we can do that, whether or not we codify it. But I am in support of codifying it in that automatic process. So let's go ahead and call the roll and we'll see how it goes and we'll go from there.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
No.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes?
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Okay, so that passes. And what's next?
At the next meeting, I can have the appropriate legislation for council's consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is old and new business. And I'll kick it off by requesting a confirming vote for some commission appointments. I have Katie Haas and Tim Sweeney for Mason Port Authority, and Charlene Burrell and the reappointment of Rachel Koffler to the Tax Board of Review. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, so we've got that out of the way. Anybody have some old and new business to share?
Mayor? I do.
Yes.
I have just a few things. I just kind of wanted to bring to your attention an email that I received. This is from the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. They have called on the Treasury and the IRS to extend the tax deadline. It has not been extended, but I thought it was interesting. I thought I would bring it to your attention. The AICPA said with the delay in the start of the February 12th, 2021 filing season, a second round of paycheck protection loans, changes to the employee retention credit, and the delayed processing of the 2019 tax returns. They have asked the Treasury and the IRS to extend the deadline. So it's something that we should be paying attention to, because last time that extended our Mason deadline as well. So it hasn't been extended yet. Don't get too excited, but it's out there. I also just wanted to bring to the attention of the business owners here in Mason and anybody else who pays attention, the employee retention credit. Originally, if you were a business, you were not able to get the ERC is what it's called, if you had received the PPP loans. And this actually changed, I believe, December 27th, but there was a lot of confusion out there. There wasn't any direction on how this would work. And a lot of businesses aren't aware of this. There is a lot of money on the table for the employee retention credit. So if you have taken the PPP in the past and read up on everything and thought, well, I can no longer take this credit, they've changed it and it is retroactive. And so you could amend your 941 returns and claim the credit, and the credit is actually worth a lot of money. So you're going to want to look into that. The IRS just issued guidance. I believe it was March 2nd it came out, and it's notice 2021-20. It's quite a long notice, but if you take the time just to read through it, there's a lot of detailed information and it is worth it for your company to look into because there's a lot of money there. So I thought I would just bring that to your attention because I talked to a couple of businesses and they had no idea that they were would qualify for it, and I just don't want anyone to miss out on anything that's available to them. Also, I would like to show everyone this right here. Let me see if I can. This right here is beer that Grainworks had put out. It's Blue Skies Hero Brew. And there is a picture right here of our very own John Looker. It's to honor him and honor a lot of the other veterans out there who have served our military and made sacrifices for our freedoms. So I just thought it was really cool, really interesting, and I really wanted to come and bring all of you 6-packs. That was my goal. But when I got there, this was the last one.
Why'd you wait till the end of the meeting is my question.
Yeah. I didn't want you guys to crack them open now, but I just thought it was really cool. And, you know, John Looker is such an asset to our community. He's a Purple Heart recipient. He's very local and very vocal and very active for our current military and our retired military and Gold Star families. And he really does a lot to help a lot of people. And I just feel very honored that he's part of Mason. And I just thought it was pretty cool. So I wanted to share it with anyone. If anyone sees John Looker, you might want to mention how adorable he was. He's I don't know, he looks in his young 20s here.
That is really, really cool. Thanks for bringing those in there. I'm wondering what would happen if we tried to put that up on the projector so the public could really see the image clearly. What do you think, Kurt?
Do you want to pull that one?
We can try. I noticed there was one missing.
Well, there's one missing because I didn't drink it, but there's actually, there's a whole bunch of them. It's not just John Looker. There's a number of heroes that are on the Hero Brew beers. And one of them was for an individual who passed away, committed suicide, and he was one of our veterans. And so I gave it to his widow because when I saw it, and then I saw her, so I just gave it to her. But yes, there's John.
Wow.
Hopefully he's watching. Sometimes he comes, but hopefully he's watching.
Mayor, if I may, it's obvious she didn't intend to share it with us because she didn't bring them in cold.
Look at that. That is so neat. Wow.
And like I said, it's not just him. I want to make sure, everybody gets honored, but you can go to Grainworks in Westchester and ask them where their Hero Brews are.
Hero Brews, Grainworks in Westchester. That's awesome.
And I have a few more things real quick. I was handed this. It's the Warren County Imagination Library, and you might want to put this up there too, if you could. Yeah, sorry. And this, I thought was pretty cool. It was given to me. And this is for children up to age 5 can sign up to receive a free book that's delivered to their home once a month. You can sign up multiple children as long as they're under the age of 5, and you can expect your first book to arrive in 8 to 10 weeks. So that was pretty cool. And so let everybody to sign up for this program and get a book for their child so that they can read. And I believe the only thing I have left is I just wanted to say Happy International Women's Day to all of my women coworkers, the mayor and everyone else here and everyone in the staff. It's always a pleasure working with other women, and Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Happy International Women's Day to you too. And on the topic of Imagination Library, we happen to have a Warren County representative right here in this room. So, Mr. Hollingshead, during recognition of visitors, would you mind giving us an update on how you're doing with the Warren County Imagination Library? He's going to come now. That's just fine. I'll allow that. That's awesome. So coming up to the podium is renowned Warren County resident and mentor and friend to all, Mr. Larry Hollingshead. And he is, well, I'll let you tell them your official title, but he has very enthusiastically embraced the First Lady of Ohio's initiative.
Thank you. This is a very pleasant surprise. Thank you, Diana and Kathy and everybody else. It's a great program. Annie Droege is here tonight. She's a full-time employee of the Imagination Library working with low-income families. We're pushing 2 out of every 3 children in Warren County to be enrolled in the program. And all they do is sign up. They receive 1 book each month in the mail from the Dolly Parton Foundation. It's a very carefully selected children's book. It's very, very exciting for the children when they get their book in the mail this month. And as we like to say, they will hunt you down when their new book comes and ask you to read to them. It's been a great thrill. I love to go to Pine Hill Park and walk around and offer the book program to young families. And I hope you'll find, we expect, and Jonathan Cooper has been a lot of help in this program. We expect that children who read enter kindergarten with a bigger vocabulary, probably most importantly, a longer attention span, curiosity, and cultural awareness. What this means is the program's been running for 25 years. Children who go through the program go to school about 3 years longer. They earn about $10,000 more a year. And I know from my work on the Health Policy Institute in Columbus, they're healthier. There's lower social costs. And so we're going to be, Warren County is going to sponsor an economic impact study that we hope to put some numbers behind the value of the things that you see when you look in their eyes anyway. Thank you.
Larry, would you mind telling us how the program is being funded currently and how you're trying to set it up so that it's a permanent fixture in Ohio?
Oh, sure. So imagine starting a nonprofit with more money than you can spend in 3 years. That's just unbelievable. The Warren County Libraries, all 5 libraries have provided almost $400,000 for us to run a 3-year pilot. And then we're going to be funding it with an endowment at the Warren County Foundation. The reason for the endowment is we want the program to be perpetual, and the people that are running the program are going to be able to spend 110% of their time on early childhood, not have the requirement spending the time and energy on fundraising. You know, I'm on lots of boards, and most of them are nonprofit. And if you take out the necessity to raise money, that means they can concentrate on their mission. And so I think that's one of the that's very new. We're the only ones in Ohio, and I think in the United States doing it. But I hope it'll make the program more successful. If you don't know, all 88 counties in Ohio have an Imagination Library program. We have about 280,000 children signed up in the state of Ohio. That's about almost 35%. The governor's goal is to make it 50%. And it's the most wonderful thing I've ever done.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you're in Warren County, or if you're watching this meeting, you don't have to live in Warren County, but if you're watching this meeting and you are passionate about this, how could you participate in helping with the fundraising effort?
Well, there's lots of ways to do that. Right now, the most important thing I think is to talk to people and help us as a county see the benefits. And then if you'd like to invest, you can do it by contacting the Warren County Foundation. I guess I should say too, you can enroll your children by going to imaginationlibrary.com. You enter their name, date of birth, and your address. As Diana said, it takes about 8 weeks before the first book arrives. The first book is Religion and Good. The last book is Watch Out, Kindergarten, Here I Come.
Any questions from council? Yes.
Mayor, if I could, no, I just want to say, yes, thank you, Larry, for the package you handed out that informed us all on this. And this is such a great thing. And Councilmember Nelson stole my thunder a little bit because I wanted to bring it up too. You know, in the world that we've got now with the internet and every small child walking around with a smartphone, you know, we tend to get away from books, but it is so important. Reading and your children reading is so important. And I had a guy tell me, this is back before the internet, and he said, you know, there are two things that'll change you from who you are to who you want to be. And that was the books you read and the people you hang out with, you know. And so reading books, even at this age, I tend to do mine on Audible app now, but it's like, that's you're still growing even as an adult. And if you can create great reading habits for your children, it's just such a wonderful thing. So thank you for getting behind this.
We're passing a book called passing a book. I think we've given out probably 75 copies of this book now. I'd be happy to provide any of you with the book. It's called The Enchanted Hour. It's written by the Wall Street Journal children's editor. Has a lot of research from Cincinnati Children's Medical Center that shows the brain scans of children when they're watching a video versus when they're having a book read to them. And there's a night and day difference. You can see I like to say, you can see the love in their brains. The child is much more engaged and much more developed. Technical word is much more neurons connecting in the brain when someone reads to you.
Goodness, the bonding that takes place between a parent and a child is just such an added bonus that you just cannot get away from. I mean, I've been reading to two little girls lately, you know, and it's a special time to be able to get one-on-one where you read like that. So
it's not going to happen. As we say, there's no app like your lap.
I do miss those reading snuggly times with my little ones. They're all big and taller than me now, but they don't want to snuggle so much anymore. Any other comments from council? Larry, when you and Thomas Seddon are ready, I'd love to have you guys come in and give us a formal presentation. Thomas Seddon is the president of the Warren County Foundation, and he has been in here to present before, I believe. So we'd love to have him come back again. So we'll follow up on that. Okay, and he was just mentioning, since he's off mic, that there's a community advisory group in Mason being formed. I know I've participated in a Zoom call with that, and they'll get more information to us. So thank you very much for being so spontaneous with us. Thank you. Anybody else with old and new business? All right, I have just a little bit more. We desperately need to schedule a work session. So we're looking at next Monday. Correct? We've got all kinds of things that we need to go over in work sessions. So if council can prioritize next Monday, and the city manager will be in touch to firm up the time, and we'll go from there. Item 22 is committee reports. Anybody have a report?
Mayor.
Yes.
So we did meet, the downtown committee met on February 25th. At 8 a.m. We've been trying to meet monthly. So if anybody would like to be able to come to that and help participate, that'd be wonderful. We had a large and active downtown committee meeting, and we saw some new initiatives and new thoughts with some of the new people that were in the room, and encourage everybody to want to come and bring the concerns of your downtown thoughts and desires with you. And then also, I don't know if I can mention the Veterans Commission. I think Diane's mentioned it before, maybe Josh, but I just wanted to say we also met at 9 a.m. on that same day. And we were talking about John Looker. And Eric, maybe you can help me. We said there was a deadline for the May banners that go up, like we put up last November. And I don't know if that's already passed. I know we were like within 2 weeks, so I don't know if that's passed, but we were trying to get people still to be able to sign up. And maybe you can mention how they can do that if that deadline hasn't passed. The other thing we mentioned was that you can, if you bought banners last time, you would like a street yard sign, like a realtor saw it. I don't know if they're 18 by 24, the size of a yard sign for an additional $25, I believe. You can have that yard sign put out, which helps bring awareness and still honors your family member that was on there. So you can still do that if you were part of the 70, I'm trying to remember how many people did it last time, 50 to 70 people. Would you like to help me with that, please?
Yeah, the best way to do that is probably buy a can of beer with John Looker's name on it, because he is the contact point on that. You could go to the city's website. This is done in conjunction with the American Legion. I'm serious. John Looker is the point person there. We believe the deadline was probably March 15th to get banners. That's for this year. You could get, or for Memorial Day. But you can continue to buy banners. It's just if you want in time to have it posted for that holiday, that's the deadline. But you could continue to go to the webpage, get the material into John with the payments, and they'll be available at next holidays.
Right, so we run those banners for the month of May for Memorial Day, and then we also run them for the month of November for Veterans Day, right? So,
Yes.
and then the people that have paid, that'll run 2 seasons worth. So we started that last fall. Last November was the first time through. Great, thank you.
May I ask a question on that topic? I was looking at the application on the website and it wasn't real clear to me. Do you qualify for the banner program as long as you're a Mason resident who is a veteran, or did you need to live in Mason at the time of service?
Without looking at the application, I know the intent was that Mason veterans. So if you have family, friends, or you can indicate someone that lived here, maybe they don't currently, but they had grown up here. That was the intent of the program. That's why partnering with the American Legion is significant, because they're able to help with that kind of qualification.
Great. Thanks. Yes.
I believe, though, it's also if you live in Mason and you have a veteran, if it was your grandfather, anyone that they didn't have to live in Mason, but
Yes,
you
that's-
live in Mason.
Yes, that's
Okay, that's what I thought we were going for, but the language on the application was a little confusing to me. And so I just wanted to ask. That jogged my memory. Thank you. All right. Any other
There.
committee? Are you finished? I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add to Councilmember Arnold, just if you're a member of the Legion, VFW, or a DAV member, you can actually get the banners for half price. So I think that's important to let everybody know as well. So they're half off. For that. Thanks.
All right. Member Honderlaw, did you have anything else?
No, Mayor, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The Economic Development Committee met tonight and everything we talked about was in executive session. So I can't really report much other than we met tonight. I'd like to schedule a policy and legislation committee meeting, please. And then I wrote myself a note to remember to ask about the safety committee or public works tackling just emergency preparation, and do we have all the resources we need, like the generator we just ordered? So I don't know how you guys want to work that out, but what do you think? Safety or public works? What is the better? Yeah, you could. So you'd probably have 5 members or 4.
Well, I guess we would have to, I don't know what the makeup is of those two, what the overlap is.
I think you'd end up with 4 or 5 people. So, Member Chance, do you have a preference? You're the chair of Public Works. You're the chair of safety.
On the surface of it, I think about it, it sounds like a safety committee meeting to me, but I mean, Public Works, if something happens, maybe, but I think it's a safety committee meeting. I mean.
Thank you. I love to volunteer people for things. It's really fun. Thank you for that. I know we'll be in good hands. All right. We already talked about scheduling a work session next week, so I'm done. Does anybody else have anything?
Mayor, on that note, if I could, for sake of getting the announcement, if I could suggest the work session begin at 5 p.m.
Yes.
That creates conflicts with anyone. Maybe. Otherwise, this would be an opportune time to announce that. A work session on Monday, the 15th, begin at 5 p.m.
It's fine with me. Let's go ahead. So Monday, March 15th, 5 p.m., council work session.
Can we announce the topics now? Do we have the topics? Is it, I mean, if we're going to have a work session, if we're going to get the public here, I think it'd be good to at least announce what we're going to be talking about.
Well, we'll definitely put that out in the public notice. I don't have a complete list just yet. It may include some executive session time, and we have lots of nuts and bolts that we need to go over. So we'll come up with a public announcement. It's a work session of council, so it's not typically a time of public comment. However, it's accessible to the public, as all public meetings are. All right. Okay, item 23 on the agenda is recognition of visitors. Do we have anybody online or in the building that would wish to raise a hand and share? I see none online. No hands raised online. Anyone in the room? Yes, ma'am. Come on up. And then, sir, you in the back, you can follow her. Hi there. And when you arrive, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rochelle Noob. My nickname is Shelley. I live over on North Crest Drive in Mason Heights. And I don't know, I haven't been to a council meeting in a while. So I don't know if you guys have taken up any of these issues or not, but just in the news this last week, been very concerned about parents who aren't able to, deal with the pressures of their children anymore. And they end up in the Ohio River or, wanted to sit them out in the park and leave them or whatever. I adopted my son when he was 7, and he had a lot of issues with homelessness and trauma before I adopted him. So he's really tuned into all of this stuff. He's 24 years old now, but he still brings home kids from here in Mason who are older, who maybe he went to high school with or whatever, who suddenly are on the street at 10 o'clock at night and have nowhere to go. And I just wondered, what do our police do if they find these kids? Do they have some place to take them? We used to have Mary Haven Home, but it's a place for boys who have other issues, and maybe have been in trouble. Now it's not like an orphanage. And I know in the past, parents were able to leave their children in a safe place like Mary Haven. I just think as a community, maybe we ought to be out front a little bit and say, if a mom has a baby that she can't handle, she can leave it in a safe place. Do we have a safe place somewhere nearby where a parent can say, I can't do this right now? I'm a physician assistant, and I know we live in a really affluent place, but a lot of our parents are dealing with a lot of stress right now. And is there some place that can help them? I've had 6 homeless people in my house this summer alone. And the process to get folks into a shelter and then hopefully into their own apartment of some sort is lengthy. It's 4 to 5 months long, and the shelters are full now. So I just wondered if there are other people who are interested in this, or what do our police do when they run across these kids or these families? Is there a safe place where these kids can go? Aside from maybe Children's Hospital, I don't know what they have set up at this point. The kids don't really belong in a hospital. They just belong in a nice, safe place where they can sleep that night, and somebody can help get things organized the next day. So I don't know. Is there anything? Do we know of anything in our area here?
Yes, Miss Shelley, thank you for your your questions and your concerns and all that you do to help others in need. And we have adopted children in our family too. They're pretty special. They're all special, but you just forget that they were adopted. They're just like everybody else. And it's a very, very important thing to do. So I think our city manager can help with this. We have many resources at the county level, and our police officers are well trained to address problems with children in need, or adults too, and resources there. Can you speak to that at all, and what those safe places may be?
Yes, and I can't cover all of them. Certainly there are county resources. I would promise you that within the city of Mason, our fire stations, our police department, or anyone out on the road, if you're talking about an abandoned child, or parents that need a break, any of those places, including the community center across the street, are staffed with very caring, dedicated city employees that would make sure that child was kept safe until arrangements could be made. Older kids, maybe even young adults, teens, we have, and we're quite proud of, a campus safety program that is somewhat centered in the community center, but also involves all of the schools and involves.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you a little bit.
I'm sorry, I'm not good at these microphones. I referenced our fire departments, our police station, our community center as kind of safe harbor, so to speak, because there are employees there throughout all hours of the day, that if you're talking about an abandoned child or a parent that needs a break and can't care for a small child, any of those places are resources within the city that would make sure that child got attention, care, and the resources needed. For older children that maybe don't have a place to stay or are struggling, we have a campus safety program that is centered in our community center, but is also in partnership with the schools, staffed primarily by police, but also has a fire EMT component, done in conjunction with even some other businesses. And they have had some success helping mentor students. Maybe they're struggling at school, and provides a resource for them both when they're in city facilities, but also if they're struggling with emotional or mental health issues, has access to resources to kind of keep an eye of them throughout the community. Those are immediately resources that the city has that might be of assistance to that. I'm confident there are others, especially at the county level, that I just can't list or don't have as much personal experience with.
Has a hard time, they won't get in trouble if they call the police and say, I just can't do this anymore. You know, like, they don't want to end up in court and be, you know, in trouble for something when they just emotionally can't do something anymore. You know, is that, or
I don't want to speak to specifics. If the parent has,
I'm just saying in general, is there,
there are people there that would take care of that child. Absolutely.
I just want to make sure we had resources here so we don't have to go through what, and maybe we should make it more known, like in the town paper or something, and in the Pulse or something, you know, if you're having a hard time, here's some numbers, here's some places, you know.
We can do some research and make sure, you know, I'm listing what are immediately available, have immediate experience with. I'm confident there are other resources, specifically in the county, that have more long-term prospects. But
It here in our community as much out on the street as they do in other places, but it's here. So I just wanted to bring it to somebody's attention, you know. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you. And you're right. These are dialogues we need to have. And so Child Protective Services and that umbrella is at the county level. So our trained personnel get our kids where they need to go, but we don't oversee Child Protective Services, if that makes sense. That's covered by the county. But I'm so glad that you came in. I think Member Honorlaw might have a question or a comment for you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, wow, what a huge heart you have. Thank you for what you do. For those that are hurting, those that are lost, those that are struggling and these children. My gosh, you need an award for what you're doing. It sounds like it, from what I can tell, it's like, thank you. You do have a huge heart. You're asking the government what they can do and basing on local and county levels. I'm not sure what churches can do. We have a couple very large churches in this area, you know what I mean? And I'm not sure what programs they have. I personally, mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like they're gonna take care of you. Well, they might take care of people tonight, but they just put you in a hotel for the night and then it's paperwork and months before you get into an apartment. And most of the shelters and stuff are full. So they're doing their best and they are a great resource, but they're pretty full right now.
And you're bringing to mind back to the government level is I'm not sure, and maybe the mayor can help me. I know the Mrs. Fornshell runs the Warren County Child Advocacy, and I'm not sure what all they do and how that, but they come in and rescue a lot of children out of horrible situations.
Yeah, that's a stop for children who have had to be removed from their home or have been victimized in some way with some type of criminal activity or abuse. And that's a place where they work with Children's Hospital of Dayton, and it's a standard of best practice model where they can assess the child's needs and any needs for prosecution if that's needed, in a more of a one-stop shop, if you will, so that there's less trauma for the child, so they don't have to keep being reinterrogated. And I believe our officers work with the Child Advocacy Center almost daily. I think I remember a number like 40 times a month or something like that. Is that too high? So that wouldn't be daily, but they're interacting with the Child Advocacy Center quite a bit. And you're right, there is need in our community. It is an affluent community, but we still have needs. Problems don't, we all have problems, all of us. And help me out with the Child Advocacy Center, because once I said 40, I just thought, I don't think that's right.
I would say they have routine contact,
Yeah.
probably daily contact. It may not be, different children, but they're in regular contact with child advocacy.
It's in Warren County. It's in Lebanon, but they collaborate with Children's in Dayton, the Dayton Children's. Yeah, we might need to get you on the mic there. I can hear you, but I'm not sure the cameras can hear you. So we want to make sure that you're heard.
We have children's here in Liberty and Mason. And I just wonder, and I know they already have a system set up for Hamilton County through Children's downtown. I just wonder if they could have an outpost, that's because they have great psychologists and whatever already set up. I don't know if we need it, we should maybe make a contact somehow.
I just had a couple more points I wanted to make. One, to get back to what some of the churches do, I go to a Solid Rock Church in Monroe, and they've just got passed for the Restoration Ranch, where they bring in foster children. You know what I mean? And so to see the role of the church to be expanded, I love that. And what they're doing there, and already had one adoption out of their group of boys. And these are teenage boys that are really nobody will take because they're now already, everybody wants the newborn baby, and so to see the church step up and do something like this is just grabs my heart to see that. And so I wanted to give them credit, and I'm sure that, like I said, there's other churches that probably do that. And then I think you mentioned something about infants and baby drop-off box. There is something, and I know it's out more in the country, and I'm not sure if we have anything here. Maybe city manager can comment on it. There's a place to, an anonymous, rather than if you instead of having an abortion, if you gave birth and you wanted to hide it, if you're a teenage girl or something, you could drop that baby off. It had a flap come down, you put the baby in and put it back and anonymously drop that. I don't think we have that in this area, but I know they are around. And I'm wondering maybe we could look into having something like that. I don't know what that has to do with the city, but I'd like to be able to, I love that idea that we're rescuing babies in situations like that. And if we could have it maybe on a firehouse or somewhere where we could provide something like that, I'm going to look into that for you, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Miss Laura, Miss Shelley, what was it, Laura?
Laura Rochelle, and everybody's.
Laura Rochelle. Okay,
Shelley.
Shelley. Yeah, to echo a lot what was said up here, thank you so much. And I think, we, as a government entity, we try our dead level best. But I think to Councilmember Hunterlaw's point of engaging the churches, I'm a member at Crossroads, and I know they're involved in a lot of this stuff. And for some odd reason, our family's very involved in this. We've had 3 addicts live in our basement. We have one in there now. She's doing great. She went through Solid Rock Church, and she's doing incredible. And so there is the need here in Mason. And I always tell a stat that, it's always pretty profound to me. And I know everybody else has heard this before, but in all of Warren County, there was more overdose deaths in the county than there were automobile accidents. And that's astonishing to me. And so what I would like to do, I will get with some of the folks at Crossroads to understand that, because I think mental health, all this stuff we're dealing with on the COVID side of things, I think the mental health aspect of it is probably tenfold worse than actually COVID. So I think we're dealing with, and I think the repercussions of what is coming down the pike is we're just scratching the surface of it. So I think these discussions, probably having those early and often, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. And what I'll do is I'll get and see what we can find out in regards to where there might be programming. I know there's some great stuff at the county with some that partner with some of the nonprofits that would address, situations like this. So I think you're spot on in regards to bringing it up to us, because again, I think the mental health is going to be a major issue. And I hate to, we pray for those families, just, the hurt that's going on right now, especially with the 2 cases that you mentioned in the very beginning. It's just sad. But I think we should get in the front of this. So I appreciate for you having the courage to get up here and bring it to our attention.
I just think that we have enough people in our community that can back something like this and put it together. We have the resources around here, but we just need to make sure it's there for somebody who needs it, I think. So, and I'm willing to help out too. So
Thank you.
let me know.
Thank you, Laura Rochelle. What a beautiful name. I thought of a couple of other things. We also have the Warren County Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter that the city supports. We have the Mason Food Pantry. We have a cupboard backpack program in the schools for kids that have some food insecurity, and that is a vibrant operation in the schools, and they were very busy during COVID when schools were closed. We also have the Lindner Center of Hope, which is an internationally known mental health hospital right here in the city of Mason. And, we have a really great community. So many wonderful charities and nonprofits, great churches. So there's a lot going on, but it's not always easy to know about. So we really thank you for starting this dialogue tonight. Are there any other visitors that would like to be recognized? Oh, that's right. Come on up, sir. You might need to move the microphone, excuse me, not the microwave. I think I'm getting a little tired tonight.
All of that, but I just wanted to talk a little bit. I've been just recently.
Oh, could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Mike Droege, 4509 Estate Court, resident, also work here. But I've just started following the recent developments on the downtown development, and I just want to bring up a couple of points because I find a few of these things are concerning. I just want to mention them. Not necessarily any questions right now, but just to mention them so that it gets thought about. I know it's not finalized, but I really do think Common Beer Company's request should, for a small portion of that land, it should have little to no impact on the development. I really think that we should find a way to make that work. The second point I do want to make is, we seem to be very dismissive of other offers coming in, whether or not just because the CMC has that main property there. But there's many different things that other developers could use with that, or they could build around it, or even offer to purchase it. And then the last thing, probably one of my more important ones. So the last meeting, there's a paper on the amount of taxes that would go to the school districts. And I think I saw it was like the 15-year abatement period, and it was like $375,000 a year. And so over 15 years, that's $5.35 million. We just had to pass a school levy. So it's not like, we could use that money for the schools. And I just think we just need to find a way to either like limit the number of years of the tax abatements, or find a cap, something like that. So I guess, overall, I have nothing against the plans being put forth by them, as I think it could be very nice. I just think we need to find more competitive bids, make sure we're doing what's right for the city. So, and also, getting more competition on that could help the negotiating stance. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Droege. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Thank you so much for sharing your concerns. The cap would be 15 years if it's approved. That's what the proposal was for. And the schools' taxes are abated, but something the city is always required with those abatements is that they provide a pilot to the schools, which is negotiated with the schools. It's outside of our control, but that stands for payment in lieu of taxes. So they wouldn't miss out on that abatement per se, but we can't control what they agree upon with the counterparty, just to help clear that up. But thank you for raising those concerns, and we're listening. I promise we're listening. Any other comments from the audience? Did anyone show up online? All right, well, seeing that there are none, it's time for a motion to adjourn into executive session to consider details relative to the security arrangement and emergency response protocols for a public body or a public office. Is there such a motion?
Moved. Second.
Thank you. Let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
He said yes. I saw him out.
Thank you, everyone.
They're warm.